Welcome to Tales by Granny. Before I begin, tell me in the comments where you're listening from. I love knowing how far my stories travel. It was a cold night in November when everything began. My daughter, Emma, had just turned 16, and like most teenagers, she never let go of her phone. I was half asleep when I heard it, her ringtone echoing down the hallway at midnight. I remember thinking, who could be calling her at this hour? At first I ignored it, assuming it was one of her friends. But then I heard her cry out, not in fear but confusion. I rushed into her room, and there she was, pale as a ghost, staring at her phone. "Mom," she whispered, "it's Dad's number." My heart stopped. My husband Daniel had been gone for 7 years. He died in a car accident, a night I've replayed in my mind 1,000 times. I took the phone from her trembling hands. The screen was still lit. Incoming call. Dad. The phone rang for a few seconds. And then it stopped. We just stood there, frozen. I tried to make sense of it. Maybe a glitch, maybe someone spoofing the number, but deep inside, something cold crept into my chest. Emma asked, "Mom, could it really be him?" I didn't answer. I couldn't. All I could do was hug her and say, "Go back to bed, sweetheart." But I couldn't sleep that night. I sat by the window, staring into the dark, thinking about the last day I saw Daniel alive. He had been distant in the weeks before his death. Stressed, quiet, and often on the phone with people I didn't know. When I'd asked, he said it was work-related. I believed him, or maybe I wanted to. At 1:45 a.m., I went into the kitchen for a glass of water, and as I passed the counter, I saw Emma's phone light up again. New message, unknown number. My pulse raced. I picked up the phone and froze. The message said, "I'm sorry for everything. Take care of Emma." I couldn't breathe. The number matched. Daniel's old phone, the one the police had found crushed in the wreck. My mind screamed for logic, but my heart felt something I hadn't in years. Fear mixed with sorrow. Was someone playing a cruel joke? Or had Daniel's secrets followed us even after his death? I didn't sleep at all that night. I just sat there, watching the clock, wondering if the past was finally coming back to haunt me. The next morning, I woke up to the sound of birds outside, but it felt like the calm before a storm. Emma was unusually quiet at breakfast. She just stared at her cereal, stirring it around. I could tell she hadn't slept either. Finally, she whispered, "Mom, did you read the message?" I nodded. Yes, I did. Her eyes filled with tears. What if it really was him? I tried to sound strong. "Emma, your dad's gone. Maybe someone got hold of his old number. These things happen." But inside, I was trembling. After Emma left for school, I sat down with my coffee and opened Daniel's old box, the one I kept in the attic, filled with photos, letters, and his belongings. I hadn't opened it in years. There was his wedding ring, a watch, and a few documents I never had the courage to read. Something inside told me this call wasn't just random. I decided to check the message again. When I opened Emma's phone, the message was gone. Deleted. "Did you delete it?" I asked Emma later that day. "No, Mom." I swear I didn't. I felt a chill run down my spine. Someone, or something, didn't want us to see that message again. That evening I called the phone company. I asked if Daniel's number had been reassigned. The man on the other end paused before saying, "That number was deactivated years ago, ma'am." "It's not in use anymore." My hands went cold. "Are you sure?" "Yes, ma'am. It's impossible for it to make or receive calls." I hung up the phone, my heart racing. Impossible. And yet, it happened. That night, I sat in bed, clutching Daniel's photo. I whispered, "If you're out there." "Why now?" Suddenly, I heard Emma scream from her room. I ran to her. She was sitting up, shaking. "Mom, it called again," she cried. I grabbed her phone. The call log showed Daniel's number again. But this time, there was something new, a voicemail. Hands trembling, I pressed play. There was heavy breathing at first, and then a faint whisper. "Help! Me!" The room felt colder. Emma buried her face in my chest, crying. I wanted to comfort her, but I was too stunned to speak. Was someone tormenting us? Or was there something we didn't understand about Daniel's death? The next morning, I decided to go to the police. I told Officer Grant everything, the calls, the messages, the voicemail. He looked at me like I was imagining things. But when I showed him the call log, his expression changed. "Ma'am," he said carefully, "this number was linked to an old investigation. You might want to come with me." My stomach dropped. "What investigation?" He hesitated before replying, "Your husband's accident. It may not have been an accident after all." My mind went blank when Officer Grant said those words. "Not an accident?" I repeated, barely breathing. He nodded slowly. "There were inconsistencies in the crash report back then. It was closed due to lack of evidence, but now, with these new calls, we might need to reopen it." I felt dizzy. For 7 years, I'd believed Daniel died instantly. In that car crash on Highway 49, I went through grief, therapy, sleepless nights, and now, suddenly, everything I thought I knew was collapsing. Officer Grant asked if I still had any of Daniel's belongings from that night. I told him about the box in my attic. He asked me to bring it in the next day. That night, I couldn't stop thinking. The voicemail kept echoing in my head. "Help me." I sat by the window again, unable to rest. Around 2 a.m., my phone buzzed. It was a text from an unknown number. My heart pounded as I opened it. It said, "Don't trust anyone. They're watching." I froze. Who was they? I wanted to believe it was just a cruel prank. But how could anyone know about what I told the officer just hours ago? I didn't tell Emma about the message. She'd been through enough already. I just hugged her extra tight before bed and said, "Everything's going to be okay." But I wasn't sure anymore. The next morning, I went to the police station with Daniel's box. Officer Grant was already waiting. He wore a serious look as he examined the items. When he reached a sealed envelope at the bottom of the box, he frowned. "This wasn't logged during the initial investigation," he said. "Did you ever open it?" I shook my head. I'd always assumed it was an old letter or bill. He carefully opened it. Inside was a bank statement and a photo. The photo showed Daniel standing with 2 men I didn't recognize, near a black SUV. On the back was scribbled a single word, "Trust." My throat tightened. "What does this mean?" Grant looked uneasy. "These men—" "We've seen one of them before. He was under investigation for money laundering around the same time your husband died." My knees nearly gave out. "Are you saying Daniel was involved?" "We don't know yet," Grant said softly. "But if he was, someone might be trying to cover old tracks." When I returned home, Emma was sitting on the couch, staring at the TV, which was off. "Mom," she said quietly. I heard Dad's voice again. It came from the baby monitor. The blood drained from my face. "What did he say?" Her lips trembled. "He said, 'Don't believe them.'" For a long moment I couldn't speak. There was no baby monitor in our house. My breath caught in my throat. "Emma," I whispered, "what do you mean the baby monitor?" "We don't even have one." She pointed toward the corner of the living room. Sitting there, half hidden behind the curtain, was a small white device, a baby monitor I'd never seen before. Its green light blinked softly. "Where did that come from?" I asked. "I don't know," she said, her voice shaking. "It was just here when I came home from school." I picked it up carefully. It was still warm, like it had been used recently. My heart raced as I pressed the button to replay the last audio. Static filled the room for a few seconds, and then Daniel's voice. Clear, calm, and unmistakable. "Don't believe them. You're not safe." I dropped the monitor. The sound cut off instantly. Emma clung to me, trembling. I couldn't understand what was happening anymore. How was I hearing my dead husband's voice through a device I'd never owned? Was someone planting these things to scare us? Or was Daniel trying to warn us from beyond? The next day, I took the monitor straight to Officer Grant. He examined it but looked confused. "This model was discontinued years ago," he said. "Where did you get it?" I told him exactly what Emma had said. He promised to check for fingerprints and call me once he knew something. When I returned home, something felt off. The front door was slightly open. I knew I had locked it. I stepped inside cautiously, calling for Emma. No answer. My stomach turned. I ran to her room, empty. Then I saw her phone on the bed, still unlocked. On the screen was a new message. "Meet me where it ended." I didn't need to think twice. Highway 49, the crash site. I jumped into my car and sped through the rain, my mind spinning. My husband's voice, the phone calls, the warnings, everything pointed back to that place. When I reached the spot, my headlights illuminated the twisted guardrail that had never been repaired. The wind howled. Then I saw it, a figure standing near the trees. It was Emma. I ran toward her, shouting, "Emma! What are you doing here?" She turned, her face pale. "Mom, he told me to come, Dad." Before I could respond, a car's headlights appeared behind me, blinding me. I heard tires screeching, and then someone shouting, "Get down!" I grabbed Emma and dove into the ditch. The car sped past us and disappeared into the darkness. When I looked up, I saw something glinting near the old crash site, a torn piece of metal with letters etched into it. It wasn't from Daniel's car. It was from another vehicle entirely. And scratched onto it were the words, "He knew too much." I stared at the metal piece, my heart hammering in my chest. The rain was coming down harder now, soaking my clothes, but I didn't care. My hands trembled as I traced the words. He knew too much. Emma whispered, "Mom, what does it mean?" I looked at her, terrified but determined. "It means your father didn't just die in an accident, sweetheart. Someone wanted him gone." Emma's eyes filled with tears. "But why?" Before I could answer, flashing red and blue lights appeared behind us. Officer Grant had arrived. He ran toward us, shouting over the storm, "Are you both okay?" I held up the metal fragment. "We found this near the crash site. Look at what's written on it." He took one look and swore under his breath.
"This isn't part of your husband's car."
"This belongs to a black SUV that was impounded the same night he died, and later disappeared from our evidence lot." My mind spun. "You mean someone from the inside?" Grant hesitated. "It's possible. Someone with access." Lightning flashed, and for a brief second, I saw a shadow move between the trees. My instincts screamed danger. "We need to leave," I said. "Now." Grant nodded. We got into our cars and drove back toward town. I tried calling Emma's phone to make sure she was okay, but there was no signal. The rain distorted everything, the wipers barely keeping up. Halfway home, my phone buzzed. A message appeared, from Daniel's number again. "You're close. Trust no one." I froze. I looked in the rearview mirror and saw Grant's car following me closely, his headlights flickering through the rain. But something about it felt off. The way he was driving, too fast, too close. It wasn't normal. Then the phone buzzed again. Another message. "He's not who you think." My chest tightened. I looked up and realized Grant's car wasn't a police cruiser. It was a black SUV, the same kind I'd seen in the photo from Daniel's envelope. Panic set in. I pressed the accelerator. The SUV's lights brightened, chasing me. Emma screamed, "Mom, he's coming!" We raced down the highway, water spraying from the tires. I tried to lose him by taking a sharp turn toward the Old Mill Road. The SUV followed. Then, out of nowhere, a massive truck appeared from the side road, forcing the SUV to swerve. It spun out, skidded into a ditch, and stopped. I pulled over, gasping for air. Emma clutched my hand, crying, "Mom, what's happening? Why is he doing this?" I didn't know. All I knew was that we couldn't trust anyone, not even the people who claimed to be helping us. As we sat there, catching our breath, Emma's phone buzzed one last time. It was a voice note, from Daniel's number, and when I played it, I heard his voice whisper one haunting sentence. "He's still alive." I froze when I heard those words. He's still alive. Daniel's voice, unmistakable, calm, but filled with urgency, echoed in my ears. Emma grabbed my arm. "Mom, did he just say he's alive?" I couldn't speak. Every rational thought in my mind said it was impossible. But deep inside, a small spark of hope, or fear, began to flicker. I replayed the voice note again. This time, I noticed something faint in the background. A steady, mechanical hum, like a generator or a hospital machine. My pulse quickened. Could he really be alive? Before I could think further, headlights appeared behind us again. My first instinct was to drive, but this time it was a real police cruiser. Officer Grant, the real one, stepped out, soaked and breathless. "Ma'am, are you all right?" he asked. I stared at him, speechless. "If you're here, then who was driving that SUV?" He frowned. "SUV?" I pointed toward the ditch, but it was empty. The black vehicle was gone. Just deep tire tracks in the mud, leading back toward the woods. Grant looked uneasy. "Someone's playing a dangerous game here. You and your daughter need protection." He escorted us back home, promising to have a patrol car outside the house overnight. I thanked him, but the fear inside me was too heavy to let me rest. Later that night, when the house went quiet, I went into my room and played the voice note again, over and over. Each time I focused on the background sound. After a while, I realized something. There was a faint beeping pattern. 4 short tones, then 1 long. It felt familiar. I searched online and discovered it matched the emergency alarm system of a specific hospital, St. Mercy's Rehabilitation Center. My hands trembled. St. Mercy's was where Daniel had been taken after the crash, before he was pronounced dead. At 3 a.m., I made my decision. I wasn't going to wait anymore. I packed a small bag, woke Emma, and said quietly, "We're going to St. Mercy's." She looked terrified but didn't argue. We drove through the dark, deserted roads, headlights cutting through the fog. When we arrived, the hospital looked nearly abandoned, just one dim light flickering in the entrance. Inside, a night nurse at the desk looked up, startled. "Can I help you?" "I'm looking for Daniel Walker," I said, my voice shaking. He was here years ago." She checked her computer, frowning. "That's strange," she murmured. "This file is marked confidential." My heart pounded. What does that mean? Before she could answer, a man in a gray suit appeared behind her. "I think you should leave, Mrs. Walker," he said firmly. "How do you know my name?" I whispered. He smiled slightly, the kind of smile that hides something dangerous. "Because your husband isn't supposed to be found." For a few seconds, I couldn't move. The man's calm voice, the way he said, "Your husband isn't supposed to be found," made my blood run cold. Emma clutched my hand tightly. "Mom, who is he?" she whispered. I stepped forward, trying to stay calm. "Who are you? What do you mean my husband isn't supposed to be found?" The man's smile faded. "Mrs. Walker, some things are better left buried. Daniel knew things he wasn't supposed to know. When the accident happened, we made sure his silence was permanent." I felt my knees weaken. "You're saying you killed him?" He tilted his head slightly. "Let's just say we gave him a way out." Before I could respond, a voice came from behind him. Firm, familiar, trembling with emotion. "Step away from them." My heart nearly stopped. I knew that voice. I'd memorized it through years of memories and tears. "Daniel." The man in the suit froze. Slowly he turned around. And there he was, Daniel, standing in the dim hallway, thinner, paler, but unmistakably alive. Emma gasped and ran toward him, tears streaming down her face. "Dad!" Daniel wrapped his arms around her, his eyes locked on mine. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I had to disappear. It was the only way to protect you both." I was shaking. "Protect us? From what?" The man in the suit took a step back. "This reunion isn't going to happen." "He knows too much. He broke the agreement." Daniel moved in front of us, shielding us. "You won't touch them." Everything happened in seconds. The man reached into his coat, but Daniel lunged forward, knocking him to the ground. I grabbed Emma's hand and ran toward the exit. We could hear the struggle behind us, a crash, a shout, then silence. Outside, the cold air hit me like a wave. I looked back. Daniel was limping out of the doorway, his shirt stained with blood. "Go!" he yelled. "They'll come for you next." "Not without you," I screamed. He stumbled toward us. "There's a safe place," he said, breathing heavily. "In the cabin, the one by the lake. The truth is there. You'll understand everything." Before I could ask more, headlights appeared from down the road. Black vehicles, several of them speeding toward the hospital. Daniel looked at me, his eyes full of sorrow. "I love you," he said. "Now run." Emma and I got into the car and drove into the night, my tears blurring the road ahead. Behind us, the hospital lights flickered, and then everything went dark. For the next hour, neither of us spoke. The only sound was the rain tapping against the windshield and the echo of Daniel's words, repeating in my head, "The truth is in the cabin." I didn't know what awaited us there, but I knew one thing. Our lives would never be the same again. The rain followed us the entire way to the lake. It was as if the sky itself knew what was waiting for us. The road twisted through thick trees, their branches clawing at the windows. Emma sat quietly, her head resting against the seat, eyes red from crying. When we finally reached the cabin, I stopped the car and just stared. It was old, half hidden by fog and vines, yet strangely familiar. Daniel and I had spent a weekend there once, years before the accident. Back then, it was peaceful. Now it looked haunted by time and secrets. "Mom," Emma whispered, "are we safe here?" "I don't know," I admitted. "But this is where your father wanted us to come." We stepped inside. Dust covered everything. A faint smell of wood and old smoke hung in the air. The fireplace was cold, the windows cracked. I turned on my phone's flashlight and looked around. Something about the place felt deliberate, like Daniel had been here recently. There was a blanket folded neatly on the couch, a few empty cans of food, and a faint trail of muddy footprints leading toward the back room. "Stay close to me," I told Emma. In the back room, we found a wooden trunk. It was locked with an old brass latch. My heart pounded as I searched for something to open it with. Emma found a rusted screwdriver, and together we pried it open. Inside were stacks of papers, photographs, and a small black notebook with Daniel's handwriting on the cover. My hands shook as I opened it. The first page read, "If you're reading this, it means they found me again." My throat went dry. I turned the page. I didn't die that night. The crash was staged. I uncovered evidence that my company was laundering money for government contractors, millions in illegal transfers. I tried to expose them, but they silenced me. Someone inside the police helped fake my death. I stopped reading, staring at the words in disbelief. Emma's voice broke the silence. "Mom, are you saying Dad was hiding all this time?" I nodded slowly. He was trying to protect us. At the bottom of the page was one final note. "There's a flash drive hidden under the cabin floor. Get it to the press if I don't make it." I dropped to my knees, searching under the floorboards. My fingers brushed against something cold, a small metal. USB drive wrapped in plastic. I held it up, my heart racing. "Mom," Emma whispered, "someone's outside." I looked up through the window. Two figures stood in the fog near the tree line, watching us. The front door creaked. I shoved the flash drive into my pocket, grabbed Emma's hand and whispered, "Run." We burst through the back door into the rain. Behind us I heard footsteps, fast, heavy, closing in. We ran toward the dock. The lake shimmered in the storm's light, dark and endless. "Mom, they're right behind us," Emma screamed. I turned around and froze. One of the men was Officer Grant. For a split second, I couldn't process what I was seeing. The same man who had promised to protect us was now standing there in the rain, cold, drenched, and pointing a gun straight at me. "Give me the flash drive, Mrs. Walker," he said, his voice low but steady. "You don't understand what you're holding." Emma clung to my arm. "Mom, please." I took a slow step back, keeping my body between her and Grant. "You lied to us," I said. "You said Daniel's death was being investigated. You knew the truth all along." Grant's jaw tightened. "You were never supposed to know. Daniel's discovery put a lot of people in danger, including me. He should have stayed dead." My blood ran cold. "Then why send us those messages? Why the calls?" Grant smirked slightly. "That wasn't me. He's smarter than I thought. He's been trying to expose us from the shadows. But it ends tonight." Thunder roared, lightning flashing across the lake. For a second I could see his face clearly, twisted with anger, eyes full of fear. He wasn't just a corrupt cop. He was a desperate man cornered by his own guilt. I took a deep breath. "You won't get this drive." "Don't make me do this," he warned, taking a step closer. And then a single gunshot shattered the air. But it didn't come from Grant. He froze, eyes wide, and stumbled forward. Behind him, emerging from the trees, was Daniel. His arm was shaking, a pistol in his hand. "Stay away from my family," Daniel said, his voice filled with rage and pain. Grant dropped to his knees, clutching his shoulder. "You don't know what you've started," he gasped. "You think exposing them will save you? They'll destroy everything." Daniel's face hardened. "Not if the truth gets out first." He turned to me, his eyes softening for the first time in years. "Mary, give me the drive. I'll end this." I hesitated. "Daniel, you're hurt. Let's just go to the police." "There's no one left to trust," he interrupted. "If they trace this to you or Emma, they'll come after you next." Before I could respond, headlights appeared again through the trees, more vehicles approaching fast. Daniel grabbed the drive from my hand and shoved it into his jacket. "Take Emma and run to the other side of the lake," he said quickly. "There's a boat docked there." "Go now!" Tears blurred my vision. "What about you?" He gave a faint, broken smile. "I'll buy you time. I love you both." I didn't want to go, but Emma pulled me. The sound of engines and shouting grew louder as we ran through the rain-soaked woods. My heart pounded with every step. When we reached the far side of the lake, I turned back and saw a wall of flames rising behind the trees. The cabin was burning. "Dad!" Emma screamed. I held her tight, my tears mixing with the rain. We didn't know if Daniel was alive, but I knew one thing: he'd saved us again. And somewhere deep inside, I felt it wasn't over yet. The flames danced in the distance, painting the night sky in hues of orange and black. The cabin, everything Daniel had built to expose the truth, was gone. I stood there numb, holding Emma close as the sound of sirens echoed faintly through the forest. Hours later, we were at the local police station. I told them everything: the calls, the flash drive, Grant's betrayal, and how Daniel had appeared to save us. But when they went to the site, they found nothing but ashes. No bodies, no trace of Daniel, no drive. It felt like a nightmare that refused to end. For weeks, I couldn't sleep. Every night, I'd stare at my phone, half expecting it to ring again with that same number, the one that had started it all. But it never did. Emma tried to stay strong, but I could see the pain in her eyes. Losing her father once was unbearable. Losing him again, without answers, broke her all over again. Then, one morning, a small envelope appeared on our doorstep. No address, no name, just a single note inside. "Mary, it's over. They know. I'm safe for now, but I can't come back. Keep Emma away from all this. Live your life. You both deserve peace. D." Tears streamed down my face. He was alive. Somewhere out there, Daniel was still fighting to protect us. Months passed. Emma and I moved to a quiet coastal town. I tried to rebuild our lives. A new home, a new job, a new beginning. But part of me always looked over my shoulder, wondering if one day Daniel would walk through the door again. One night, as I sat on the porch watching the waves, Emma came out holding her phone. Her face was pale. "Mom, look at this." It was a news alert. "Corruption ring exposed. Leaked files. Lead to dozens of arrests." The article mentioned confidential government documents exposing years of cover-ups, shady deals and police involvement, all matching Daniel's notes. At the bottom of the article, there was one anonymous credit: information provided by the ghost. I smiled through my tears. "He did it," I whispered. Emma hugged me tightly. He kept his promise. That night, for the first time in years, I slept peacefully. Weeks later, as I walked along the beach at sunset, I felt a strange sense of calm, as if someone was watching over me. The wind carried the faint sound of laughter, and for a brief, beautiful moment, I could almost hear Daniel's voice. "You're safe now, Mary." I smiled, closing my eyes as the waves kissed the shore. Life had broken me, tested me, and rebuilt me in ways I could never have imagined. But through every tear, every sleepless night, and every haunting call, I learned one truth: love doesn't die. It transforms. And sometimes, even from beyond the grave, it saves you. Thank you for watching this story. Don't forget to comment below where you're watching from, and subscribe to Tales by Granny for more emotional and mysterious life stories that touch your heart and keep you thinking long after they end.